Railroad Tycoon 2 is one of my all-time favorite games, and recently it was re-released in the Platinum Edition for Steam, which includes the Second Century add-on and apparently a few additional maps. So if we take a look at the single player here, I've never actually tried the multiplayer. I don't know how well it works given how old this game is. You have either scenarios or campaigns, and really the scenarios are just the regular maps, like in Railroad Tycoon 1 and Deluxe. And these are very, very easy to make yourself, actually, and I've made a whole bunch. And then the campaigns are series of missions that you do, and you have your narrator here.
Well, hello there.
And
You're noticing
there are
the gents on the
different
board.
challenges
Go
from
ahead,
railroad
have a
history,
look.
basically.
Iron men is what they call them. Some of them upright businessmen. Some
And you
low
play
down
different
as a
figures from
snake's
railroad
belly.
history, you know,
But you know,
running them.
all of them were
It's
legends.
oversimplified, of course, but
Many a daydream
Nevertheless.
I found myself.
it's one other dimension to the game. And the Second Century add-on includes a whole bunch more. So,
Huh? Oh, hey there.
these campaign missions
Welcome to my
and
home
these.
away from home. This is just the place, though.
And you have your
if you
narrator
wanna
again,
get
of
the
course.
feel for the Second Century railroad.
But I'm just going to do a very, very basic scenario for this first playthrough. I may do more playthroughs just because this is a game I've always liked so much, and it seems kind of silly that I have a long play for Spinnaker Trains, but not for this game, which was actually one of my favorites. So, they actually have some post-apocalyptic missions there too. One of which, strangely enough, if you play one version of it, it starts in 2006, actually. But I decided... Actually, I had a little bit of trouble deciding on which scenario to do. So I'm jumping ahead here to the misspelled Flying Scotsman scenario. And this has a whole bunch of mistakes in it, I've discovered. Either I've never played this before, or I don't remember playing it. Because I don't remember it having this many problems, actually. But I made an attempt at it, and I've decided that if I'm going to play it again, I might go in and fix the bugs myself, like the spellings and the just generally mistakes, like claiming that the line was called the Flying Scotsman, which contradicts even the circumstances of the scenario where you play the London and Northeastern Railway, which operated the Flying Scotsman service from 1923 to through to the end of 1947. But this has a whole bunch of mistakes and omissions, and I would like to fix all of those, because this, in concept, is kind of a cool scenario, actually. I like this. You actually play Isambard Kingdom Brunel, who never had anything to do with the London and Northeastern. He died well over 50 years before the London and Northeastern was founded, but one of these giants of railway history who I guess they figure you would like to play. So I decided to make this a double track line, even though the real one is 4-track. It was probably 2-track originally. And it starts in London King's Cross. And today is the East Coast Main Line, actually. But I'm going to try to build it to Peterborough here, and as you'll see, I will fail. I will end up getting up to Luton, which is not actually a stop on the real East Coast Main. It's actually the Midland Main Line that serves Luton Airport. But the Midland and this would have been Great Northern Main Lines are pretty close to each other as they leave London. So here's my take on King's Cross. And I'm going to add some things to the station. One of the cool features that Sid Meier carried over from Civilization in Railroad Tycoon 2 is that you can build up your stations much like cities in Civilization. So you can add things like water towers and sanding towers and roundhouses that you actually need, at least the maintenance facilities you need to keep your trains running. So these are basically necessities. So I'll build the rest of the line here. And as I said, I wanted to go to Peterborough, first major stop on the East Coast, but no luck. So I had to go to Luton. Later on, I extended this to Peterborough, but I had my share of issues achieving that because the expense and the fact that my opponent that they've given me, my AI opponent, is not constrained by the mission to go from London to Edinburgh. He's just in it for making money any way he can, and so he easily surpasses me. For one thing, the route that he chooses to build is the original Liverpool and Manchester Railway. So Luton, I'm not going to call it an airport in 1865, of course, but I will add a water tower, and then I'll build a train for it. And one of my problems is I'm out of money, so I have to... I also made the mistake, notice, of not stopping the timescale, but I'm going to take the cheapest locomotive there, which bizarrely enough is an American standard. It's the only thing I can afford at this point, which also is a factor in my defeat here. So I go with a very basic passenger consist leaving King's Cross, and then I put together a mixed freight for the return trip because the station that I was able to afford in Luton is too small to bring in the passengers. So I don't really have much choice but to make this a freight train on the way back, which is kind of silly. But in the short term, I make a little bit of money. And I'm almost out of time for this video. I don't really want to push this into a second part given all the problems, but this is nevertheless one of my favorite games of all time, and so I will probably do a bit more with this in the coming weeks. Not so much as part of this Sid Meier series I'm doing, but just playthroughs generally. I would also like to show off my Railroad Tycoon 2 maps, which I did manage to locate. And they date back to around 1999, year 2000 or so. And I never really thought to publicly exhibit them on YouTube, but why not? Anyway, I'm pretty much out of time here. Just set a speed record with the train. But I'm out of time, so I'll see you in the next video, and hopefully I'll do more of these. Thanks for watching.